Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
You're listening to Bloomberg Businessweek with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Well, this week was always going to be crucial for the stock market with the AI behemoth NVIDIA due to report earnings. But with results from a slew of major retailers also hitting the next few days have become critical to traders who are looking for a view on the health of the consumer and the economy. Carol, we're going to hear from Home Depot, Lowe's, Klarna, Target, Walmart, and Gap, among others.
Yeah, the health of the consumer is so important. It's the backbone of the U.S. economy. We've increasingly talked about the K-shape economy and really how it pertains to consumers, that consumers, the wealthier consumer seems to be out there still shopping, not so much for those who are feeling the pinch.
The health of the consumer is something we always focus on with Christina Stembel. She's the founder and CEO of Farmgirl Flowers. She bootstrapped the company starting back in 2010, making bouquets from her San Francisco apartment. The company has grown a lot since then. She's here with us in the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
It's been a wild ride. I mean, we get to check in with you every few months, and it's great. And a big part of your story is how you grew so quickly, and you actually acknowledged that you grew too fast, and you said, wait, we got to put the brakes on this thing and kind of get smaller. But one thing that I was really surprised to hear from you is that this year is going to be your most profitable year, even if it's not going to be your biggest revenue year.
Absolutely. It's the first year that we're actually seeing any growth since 2020, but very small, couple points. And that's very intentional. We're really focused on the bottom line. We want to make sure all these companies are doing layoffs. I want to make sure we're not that, we have, 10 or 12 open positions right now, which for a company our size is a lot. So we're just growing at a clip that we can do while maintaining our profit margin.
How big is the company?
We're about 35 million, plus a little bit, but yeah.
And how many people?
Right under 30.
So you have
people.
Like a third of your positions are open right now, basically. Are you having trouble finding those employees?
We're just going slow. We're looking for the right people. So we have a lot of applicants, but we're just making sure we're bringing the right people. Yeah, so, I think I've learned that having the wrong people is actually worse than just not having anyone. So that's a lesson.
It is a good lesson. So in terms of 15 years, tell us about like how you look back at the beginning and where you were and some of the stages you've gone through and then where you are today.
Yeah, I just sat down and wrote 15 lessons in 15 years. I might share them at the end of the year. I was just trying to think about where I'm at now versus, I feel much healthier right now, personally and professionally. And why do I feel that way? And I think the biggest lesson that I had written down was that nothing is as it seems. When I started, I wanted that founder story in Silicon Valley. I started in San Francisco. I wanted to be the cover of Inc. or Entrepreneur, one of the big magazines, and where everybody was like, "She did it! Look at that!" And it was all my ego. I finally realized it was my ego, and we grew really, really fast, and that played into my ego, and I felt like that was my entire identity. Was that all the press we were getting with our fast growth, and yet 2019 we did 34 million in revenue, and I did 36,000 in profit, and I paid myself $60,000. This is not a success story, but the outward world thought I was so successful. And I'm I'm barely scraping by eating ramen, So I think, really figuring out that, I needed to be smaller, like we talked about before, and focusing on profit margin. Being a smaller company doesn't feed your ego anymore. But I finally figured out that everything I thought the business world isn't. All these sales, all these glossy pictures of people that made it. I'm it was like a fire sale most of the time. And it was all these people I wanted to be, that elite girl bosses that made it. I'm they don't own their companies anymore. And they're,
And it's, it's interesting because we've talked a lot, and I'm sure through your head, you went through some journeys about where do I want to go? Do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to bring in partners? Do I want to do whatever? Yep. You know what I mean? And I'm just curious, Tim, I think about all the folks that kind of think about that kind of thing. Did you go through some of that?
Absolutely. I mean, I built this to sell. I wanted to sell it in 10 years. I mean, how many years can you work 100 hours a week and not die, So I wanted to sell it so bad.
That's so harsh. But it's the reality, right?
Totally. And then we got an offer from one of our big competitors, this big company. And I thought, yes, we're going to make it. And it was a horrible offer. And so now I'm building to keep instead of building to sell. And it's a completely different thing. We're investing in, things for 5 years from now.
You're able to build to keep rather than build to sell because you built this company yourself and you didn't take on any financing, any funding, which is so strange for a startup that was built in Silicon Valley.
Absolutely. I'm very fortunate. I'm in a CEO group with lots of CEOs that, are constantly telling me how lucky I am, even though I have never felt lucky in this. Because I don't go into every board meeting being worried I'm going to be fired right now because
You're the boss.
Yeah, I'm the boss. I'm like, we just, we bought a farm. No investors would ever let you buy a farm. We, are farming now. That's a long-term goal.
Well, I was going to say last time you were on with us, we're going to get to the consumer in a second, but last time you were on with us, we talked about two things that really stuck out. One was the effect of tariffs. Did you buy a farm to offset the effect of tariffs?
No, absolutely not.
Why'd
but
you
it is
buy the
going to
farm?
help us.
Okay.
It is. I mean, we bought the farm because we're like, let's do this because it's hard to get this type of flower at this time of year where we think we can get it where we're at. We also built it because we're like, we're Farmgirl Flowers. Like, let's actually
shouldn't we have a farm?
Shouldn't we have a farm and do that? But I mean, we're investing in. We do think long term this vertical integration will allow us to keep a couple $1 million more in our pockets every year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
you gave us such an education, I think, about where flowers come from, and I think there's just this assumption we go buy flowers. I don't know whether we thought they were all in the U.S. and there wasn't, right?
No.
So much of the flowers come in.
Where's the farm?
Oregon. We bought the farm in Washington, so we have a small farm in Washington. We also put in about 40,000 plants in Oregon last year as well.
And will you be able to cultivate those flowers yearly, like throughout the year?
Although it takes 3 years for your first harvest. So again, that's why investors would never let you put the money into it now.
And the flowers that you produce at those farms on that land only go to you, or do you sell them to others?
Yeah, we'll keep it. Right now, the amount that we're growing, we can use that every year. If we decide to keep going, then we can wholesale it. It's another revenue chain for us.
What percentage of the flowers that are grown there, does that satisfy of the flowers that you use in a single year?
Like a couple percent.
Okay, so it's still really, but you would never be able to get to the point because of the global supply chain where you could actually grow all the flowers you would want.
Never, and we don't want to. It's too much of a risk.
Yeah.
I learned through COVID that I definitely need to diversify more than I had. I mean, having our facility that made 92% of our bouquets close down in one day in 2020.
I remember you talking,
taught me that wasn't very smart. So I'm definitely making sure we're diversified now.
Talk to us about tariffs in the environment. I just think, again, many reasons we love talking to you, but you really give us an idea of what it's like to run a small business, although you've made it a bigger business over the years. But stuff coming out of Washington, tariffs, how has that changed? Has it gotten any easier?
Yeah, no. We change, and it actually hurts the consumers more. I mean,
because you raise prices.
We raise prices, or we have to buy off the shelf instead of making custom things that are nicer for them. We have to do things like that. We have to make concessions because we don't want to price ourselves out of the market.
Yeah.
We have to use different flowers, even though they're not the ones that consumers want. There are things like that.
I hate when florists do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not what we want to do.
Right.
It also, I think we're the poster child for having tried to do this, made in America, grown in America. When we started, I only bought American grown flowers, right?
Yeah.
And we ran out of flowers in 2017, just ran out. Mm-hmm. Now there's fewer farms than there were in 2017 because labor's so high. Now with immigration issues, I just came a couple of weeks ago. I was just down in our fields and we were just getting it ready for winter. I couldn't walk for 3 days after doing 1 week of work in the fields. There are not people here that are wanting to be farm workers, let me just say.
So what would you say to folks who are like, no, pushing back on immigration, it makes sense. We have to be doing this. What would you say to folks who are listening or watching right now?
I think that ship has sailed generations ago. There is no way, we tried to buy American grown. It wasn't possible. We're not going to bring farming back to this country unless we do something about immigration. There are too many ripple effects going on with why it won't work. Also, having production facilities of making bouquets in the United States. We make about 50% in the United States and 50% outside of the United States of our bouquets.
Can I ask you where outside?
South America.
South America. Okay.
And most of them are in the United States, but the flowers are coming from South America. Yeah. We have a few in South America that are making bouquets as well. And, it doesn't work. I think, Ford Motor Company is a good example of this when they're talking about open jobs. Or, I talked to a guy that has an engine rebuilding plant in the Midwest that had 40% open positions.
We just don't have those people in this country anymore.
We're telling people go to college so you don't have to work a factory job. Nobody wants to work a factory job.
We also have an aging population, right?
Absolutely.
So we're not replenishing.
So we talked about tariffs. We talked about farming. We talked quite a bit about your story to the consumer and the American consumer. How is the consumer in your view?
The consumer has definitely shifted. I think just like what you were talking about, people right now, it's a little concerning with the economy where, people are still spending a lot of money, but the people that can't spend a lot of money can't buy.
Yeah.
So, it's not the company I want to be where I'm only appealing to one type of consumer. So we're really trying to make sure that we're not doing that. But with tariffs and rising prices and everything, that kind of backs you in a corner of what do you do? I don't want every bouquet to cost $150 because how many people can afford a $150 bouquet to send to their best friend for their birthday?
Right.
So we're looking at things
and as a consumer, like I know I definitely cut back. It's like you can't do as much as you would like to.
Absolutely. And we're in the gifting space. So you just cut gifts out, and we don't want that. So we're looking at trying to find ways to get closer to the end consumer so we can cut it in shipping instead of the flower cost and things like that we can be a little bit creative with.
What? Oh, I guess we have to go. Darn it.
I think we have time for one more from you, Carol.
Wreaths. I don't know if everybody can see the wreath that is on, probably, I'll have to lift it up. How big, do you do a lot of wreaths?
We wish we could do more. We sell out of them all the time. We're working with a lot of new producers.
There it is.
They're high labor.
It's
a high labor. Yeah. So we are constantly looking. We work with small farms on our wreath making program. So very proud of that and trying to get more for us. But it's like the best way to, come home and feel like it's Thanksgiving, right?
I have wreaths.
It smells really good.
It does smell really good. She walked into the studio. If you had to do a word to describe the outlook, how do you see it right now? You can do 2 words.
Bleak but hopeful.
Wow.
Yeah. I think.
And this is with somebody who's got business going, job openings.
Yeah.
Wow.
In terms of the context of the last 15 years, apart from COVID, where is it? What year are we in?
10 seconds.
We're 15. Bleak, I would just say because of personally how I feel about what's going on. But we're doing okay. So I'm hopeful that we're going to make some changes.
And you bought a farm.
Yes, bought a farm.
I love that. I want to be able to say we bought a farm. Christina Stembel, founder and CEO of Farmgirl Flowers, always makes us feel good.